Alright, what's up YouTube? Casey here, and I hope you guys can notice a bit of a difference in terms of the audio and visual quality for this video in particular. Kind of decided to actually get a mic this time so I can use my DSLR for filming rather than an iPhone, so I hope there's at least a difference, and hopefully it's a better difference. But with that aside, I want to talk about more of what we're going to be getting into with today's video, and that's going to have to do with community college versus a four-year university. I think this is a very important discussion to have, and it mainly has to do with people who are still in high school deciding between the two, or coming out of high school, newly graduated seniors, and maybe this summer or whenever you're watching this, you're deciding whether or not you should be going to a four-year or a community college instead. And I hope that this video in particular can kind of help you out with making that decision. A few disclaimers to begin with. I want to start off by first saying that my experiences and what I'm going to be talking about today cater towards the California community college system and the universities within California. So I understand that there can be some differentiating factors that vary between state to state, and there can also be a lot of similarities because we are still one whole country. But with that said, I just want to get that out of the way. Everything that I say here in terms of different programs and such may not be applicable in your state, but certain things can still apply. The second disclaimer that I want to give in terms of, myself with this video is that I have just finished my 2 years at a community college, and I will be transferring to UCLA. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus at the moment, most of my classes will be online, or all of my classes for the quarter will be online, so I won't be able to go there and really give too much of my own personal experiences at a four-year yet, or in the near future. But with that said, let's get right into the video. Now, this video is mainly focusing on the first 2 years of a four-year university versus a community college, which is usually supposed to only last about 2 years. If it lasts you a little bit longer, of course, that's okay. I'm just saying that this is mainly a first 2 years of a four-year versus a community college. Now, I want to organize it by talking about pros and cons for each. So right off here, what I got a list of for a community college, for a 2-year university, a junior college, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of pros that go with it if you choose to go with it. But let's get into the cons first. So a lot of people have a stigma against community college. A lot of people actually believe that community college is for losers or people that they have no idea what they want to do with their life. And that's usually what community college has been looked at retrospectively. However, now community college is, it's turning its tide, and a lot of people are opening up their minds to it in terms of their opinions, but there's definitely still a stigma there, and people probably are going to judge you. If you care or not, obviously that is up to you, but I'm just letting you know that stigma does exist, and it can be a con to some. The other con that I want to talk about community college is the social atmosphere of it all. Obviously, we know that four universities are notorious for having a lot of new experiences for people, making friends, meeting new people, trying new things, all the different clubs, Greek life extracurriculars that you can participate in. That's all there at a four-year university right out the gate once you're out of high school, if you choose to go there. At community college, you don't really have any of that. You can find some of it if you go out of your way to find it, but for the most part, community college is going to be a pretty boring 2 years of your life. I know for myself and my own personal experience that community college was actually probably the last 2 years of my life were really, really uneventful. Obviously, it's what you make of it in any situation, but that is there. There's not much to do. You're going to be going into your classrooms, and you may be surrounded by people that really don't care to be there. It kind of is. It's going to feel like high school. It's not really a competitive atmosphere where you feel like you're striving to do the best like everybody else is, and that can be a damper on a lot of people. I know it was a little bit to me. But I'm more of an introvert, so again, I wasn't like I was going to be making a lot of friends in the first place in terms of talking to new people and stuff, but that is what it is. Community college isn't a very social place. It's what you get out of it, and in terms of a social place, there's not much to get out of it. This leads me to the next con for community college, which I personally believe is the biggest con for community colleges, and that has to be the fact that you're more enticed to stay there longer as time goes on. A lot of people you're going to meet at community college have been there for more than 2 years, and this isn't anything against them. Everyone's situation is different, and I know that. But what usually happens is that people will go to community college thinking that it's a institution that will allow them to revolve school around their life and their schedule, and they plan their classes secondary to what's going on in their life. Now, sometimes you may have a kid or family issues that need to be primary, and I completely get that. But a lot of the times you get kids coming out of high school who don't really know what they want to do with their life, and so as a result they choose to just go to community college because their parents are making them, so they can feel like they're doing something for the moment. And then they take the wrong classes, they don't take enough classes, they start extending their period of time there, and before you know it, they've been there for 3 years, they've only completed like 45 units, and then they're done. Or they stay there even longer, and some people just take a class each semester there, which it is what it is. But people get comfortable. That's the thing with community college. It allows you to get very, very comfortable because no one's pushing you to do anything. It's all on you. And you have to motivate yourself a lot of the times to make sure you're staying on track and keeping a schedule and everything. Which leads me to my next point, and the next con that's intertwined with this one. The counselors at community college freaking suck. And obviously I can only talk about my own personal experiences, but the counselors that I have had, they do not help enough. And that's all I gotta say with that is they will lay out a path for you tailored toward your major and completing lower division courses, which we're going to get into that, but they don't really know what you need to do. And a lot of the times, a lot of students, including myself, including my girlfriend, including my sister, we will take classes that they tell us to take later to find out we didn't need to take them. It is infuriating when that happens, and a lot of the community college counselors do that to a lot of students. And that's the biggest con, is you kind of have the counselors to help you, but they're kind of against you in a way, and you just got to be mindful of that. And that again will entice you to stay there longer, because the counselors might screw up your plans and you're gonna have to stay there longer, and you kind of get trapped. It's actually fairly common to take the wrong class. And my final con for community college has to do with the fact that people have this idea that community college is a good institution for people to partake in, and that it will allow them to figure out what they want to do with their life and give them more time, that they can explore different classes and subjects, and by once that 2 years is up, they'll know what they want to do and they can transfer, and for the time being they'll just take general ed. While you can do that, you will not finish in 2 years. The way community college works is if you want to transfer, you have to know going in what you want to do, because it's laid out so you complete your lower division courses pertaining to that major alongside your general ed. That is your goal at community college, is to complete those two things. And a lot of the times you'll have classes that overlap with one another in each of those subjects, your general ed and your lower division courses for your major. And that's usually planned out so you get 60 units out of that over the course of 2 years. So what happens is that people will go into community college thinking, well, I'll just do my general ed. I was going to take that anyways at a 4-year university. And the counselors will be like, well, do you know what you want to do for your major? And they're going to say no. And then they're just going to, okay, so here's just a basic I get C general ed sheet. Just do your general ed and then try to figure out what you want to do later. And then you're there for longer than 2 years. And so a lot of people go into community college thinking that they have time to figure out what they want to do, which you can take that time. You're just going to be there longer. You're not going to finish in 2 years. You actually should know what you want to do at that point. So, that's a big con to me too. All of these things mainly sum up into community college being very boring and kind of like a trap. Personally, at my community college, I think it had a transfer rate below 20%. So you had majority of the students were attended classes or were a student at my community college and they never transferred. Now, let's talk about some of the pros for community college, because it's not all bad. And actually, the pros are what make up a lot for why you should attend a community college. First off is money. Money, money, money. I think money is the biggest thing that people are faced with in their education ventures after high school. You have a lot of different ways you can go about this. Some people will go to trade schools, some people will go to a university, and they'll either incur debt or try to pay it off. Some people won't go at all. I mean, there's a lot of different situations. What community college does is it allows you to basically take the classes you were going to already take at a four-year university at a community college for those first 2 years, because usually a bachelor's degree at a university is 4 years. So for half of the time, you will be at a community college for the first 2 years, but it will be astronomically cheaper. So much so that if you're low income, financial aid is pretty much going to cover a majority of the expenses. And if you're not low income, it's affordable enough to where you can pay for it yourself without having to take out student loans. It's very, very doable. So I don't think there's many people that ever need to take out a student loan for community college. I can be wrong, but it is so affordable that you come out of community college and once you transfer, you're debt free. And you have if you are going to take on student loans once you do transfer to a university, you're going to have 50% less than everybody else there. If they're in-state or out-of-state, obviously that depends, but you're going to have half the amount that they do, at least, because you are taking the cheaper route, the more financially clever route, you can say, in that you're going to community college to take those classes for a lot less. And this also couples in with that first 2 years of community college that you're not going to have to be worrying about taking out student loans and debt, and you're going to be able to afford it. It gives you more time to figure out different grants, scholarships, saving up for when you do transfer and such. It gives you more time to plan out a financial literacy path for yourself going into the future, which I know isn't really taught in high school. So majority of people that coming out of high school have no idea how they're paying for college or how it's going to affect them long term. But what community college does allow you to have is that extra time to figure that out, because you will be an adult at that point. Another huge pro for community college is that it's actually an easier curriculum. This can also be looked at as another stigma and a mini con, in that people think that community college is easier on people, which it is, but come on now, are we really going to purposely take a harder class? The reason why people probably have a stigma against that is because they have to take the harder class because that's the university that they're at, which I get. But at community college, it's notorious that the classes that you take at a university, if you take them at a community college, are going to be easier. For example, I have a friend who took a psychology class at Sonoma State University, and they received a C. They said it was pretty hard. They decided to make that up a year later in summer school, but take it at the community college in their area, and they ended up getting an A. They said it was way easier, and that the professor treated the class as an intro to psychology class versus Sonoma State University, where they treated it more as whether or not this is general ed for you or you're taking this four-year major, you need to be up to par with the basics of psychology within the first week, and we're going to just steamboat ahead. And that's a lot of different curriculums. I mean, I know Berkeley is notorious for this, in that because they have this grade deflation, they have curves and quotas that they have to meet in terms of students getting certain grades and such. So they have to make the courses so vigorous. And that's not the case at community college, obviously. Nowhere near the level of UC Berkeley at all. But I'm just saying, if you're already going to take these classes that you would take at a four-year university, probably at a harder curriculum, might as well just take them at a community college. You're going to have an easier time taking these classes at a community college. You'll have a higher GPA as a result, and you'll have a better rate at transferring. And that segues into my next point, which I think is the biggest thing for a community college, if it fits into your criteria, which is going to a community college increases your chances at transferring to a top university astronomically in comparison to coming out of high school. This is something that I think a lot of people don't actually look at. In terms of California, if you attend a California community college and you complete an IGETC, which is basically just a form that lays out all of your general education and lower division courses that you plan on taking, which would also complete the Golden Four, which is a oral communications class, a critical thinking and literature class, and a math class. If you complete those four classes and then the little bits of other little requirements for an IGETC, you basically are golden to getting into any Cal State you want to, any CSU. I don't think you're going to get denied by any. In comparison to people out of high school, well, they'll apply to a CSU and they still might not get in because it's a lot more competitive for entering freshmen in comparison to transfer students. Completing an IGETC it nearly guarantees you can get into pretty much any CSU you want to at that point. You don't have to worry about taking an SAT, an ACT, any of that. All you have to do is take the classes at your community college, and then you're good to transfer. And when it comes to the UCs, when it comes to the UCs, whether it's Santa Barbara, UC Davis, UC Irvine, UC Santa Cruz, you can use the TAG program in most cases, if it is available for your major, to guarantee yourself early admission into the college. Well, it's not early admission. Guarantee yourself admission ahead of time, and then after the official application, you already know you're getting into the school at that point, so long as you maintain the classes you said you were going to take in the TAG application. The GPA requirements to getting into these schools is also a lot lower. People who transfer to UC Davis, for example, can get in with 3.2, 3.4, 3.5 in comparison to people who will have a 4.0, 4.2 GPA out of high school and still don't get into UC Davis or Irvine, for example. So the GPA requirements are super low in comparison to entering freshmen for transfer students. You don't have to take any standardized testing, and there's a lot less requirements in high school that you have to take in comparison to getting into these four universities. For example, in California, you're required to take chemistry in high school to be able to transfer to a four-year university in most cases. Well, if you plan on going to community college ahead of time, you don't need to take chemistry in high school, and then you can just take it at community college. Well, no, you don't even have to take it at community college. You can, unless you need it for your major, but you can skip chem altogether, go to community college, and then go transfer and never have to worry about taking that. You don't have to get to taking pre-calculus, which I think is also a requirement to getting into a four-year university in most cases in California. So the requirements in high school are easier on you if you plan on going to community college, and your chances at transferring are a lot higher because the GPA requirements are super low and standardized testing is eliminated. Also, another big pro to community college is that if you messed up in high school, if you have a record, if you want to say really bad grades, you ever fail the class or whatever, going to community college is a fresh start for you. The colleges are not going to look at your high school grades really entirely too much. And really all you need to pull from high school is when you apply to the colleges you want to transfer to, if you did participate in any extracurriculars in high school, just list them off in your college application. But other than that, high school is mostly irrelevant to the colleges that you're going to transfer to, because they just want to know what you did in community college for the most part in terms of your academia. So it's a fresh start for you. It's a clean blank canvas. Another smaller pro to community college, which I also listed a bit of as a con, but obviously this just depends on your own situation, is that community college is a lot easier to plan your life around. For most people, going to a four-year university involves you moving there, living there, being a full-time student, and making sure your education is your primary thing going on in your life. With community college, though, obviously there's no living there. You're gonna just be commuting there, and as a result, there's not really anything to worry about in terms of living costs or having to pay for the school, and it just allows you to plan your life more easily. It's not as drastic as a change too. A lot of people straight out of high school, they will transfer and they're going to be homesick right away, or maybe a month or two in and they're going to be homesick. It's a big life adjustment because for the first time in their life, they're not with their family or friends on a regular basis. They're on their own and they're living in a little dorm. And while there is charm to that, it's not the most enticing thing for everybody. So community college gives you a little bit more time to grow up. It allows you to mature, figure out what you want, and understand what you're getting yourself into once you do transfer. And I kind of like the way community college makes people want to transfer even more, because you and yourself, you're like, God, this is boring. I want to get out of here. I can't wait to transfer. I can't wait to go to that four-year university and show everybody, that I did it, that I could do it. And it makes you feel like you earned the privilege of being able to get into a four-year university and take advantage of everything that it has to offer, versus a lot of people coming out of high school, which they may not be ready mentally or emotionally, or at just the maturity level that they probably need. Maybe another year or two and they'll be at that point. So community college, it allows you to plan your life around yourself a little bit better and give you more time to figure out what you're doing. Now, overall, those were the pros and cons for community college. Going over the pros one more time though, we have money. Your financial situation is a lot easier and less strenuous. It's an easier curriculum in comparison to the 4 universities. You'll be taking the same classes. Might as well take it at a community college where it'll be easier and boost your GPA. You'll have a better time at getting into top universities in comparison to ones coming straight out of high school. I just want to reiterate on that point one more time, is that most UCs are going to want you to have a 4.0. You come out of community college, you can get by with in the 3.0 range. And if you're doing a tag program, that even shows more. Obviously, it's going to vary by your major, but it's a lot lower. And I would highly recommend you guys look up your major and the GPA requirement to get into that department as a transfer student in comparison to coming out of high school. There's a big difference there. It's very enticing. A lot of people that couldn't, I know a lot of people, a lot of friends that, and this isn't anything against CSUs, but they're brilliant, really smart people that I expected to get into top universities, and they ended up going with a CSU, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I know for a fact that had they gotten into their top picks, which was a UC in most cases, they would have chosen to go there, but they didn't. And that's just because of how competitive it is out of the gate to get into those schools as a entering freshman. So I highly recommend to people who go to community, who are coming out of high school, if you didn't get into your top pick and you know you could have, or you know you deserve to, just go to community college, and if you apply that same work ethic, you most likely will get in. No, you will get it, I guarantee you. The other pros, other than a high rate of getting into the university, you don't have to worry about standardized testing. It's SAT, ACT bullshit. Don't even worry about it. And if you messed up at all in high school, you don't even have to stress about that. This is a blank canvas for you. Now let's talk about the 4-year universities, because they're going to have pros and cons too. And mainly we're just going to talk about the first 2 years of a 4-year university, because after that, there's not really anything you can compare it to in terms of the community college side. But let's start off with the cons to a 4-year university going there straight out the gate for the first 2 years there. First of all, it's going to be money. That's a con. Whereas this is a pro for community college, this is the biggest con for university. The money situation for 4 universities is very controversial, and we've seen a lot of arguments in the press and politics amongst our generation about how we're paying for this and whether or not we should have free tuition. Tuition's too expensive, and whatever your opinions on it, the fact of the matter is that at this moment, college is expensive, and if you're choosing to attend it at a 4 university, it's going to be expensive. Now, there's 3 different criteria to where the expense is going to vary. If you attend a private school, it's a fixed tuition rate, whether we're counting room and board or not. What this means is whether you're in-state or out-of-state, wherever you come from, the tuition is going to be the same price. Now, this usually tends to lead to the tuition being quite pricey. If you look at USC, University of Southern California, for example, I think the average for them is within the mid 40,000 range in terms of their tuition, which is astronomically higher in comparison to UCLA's in-state or out-of-state tuition. However, private schools have more donors, so they have more availability in terms of giving more scholarships and grants. But that's a minority scenario. For the most part, though, private schools are pretty expensive, and if you're going there for all 4 years, you're going to be looking at 6 figures in debt, unless you're going to pay that, which I don't know how you would as the average student in America, but if you get a plan for that, please let me know. And then if you look at public universities, the tuition will vary between in-state and out-of-state students. So in-state students are going to have a lot lower cost for tuition versus the out-of-state students, which are going to be a lot higher. So the in-state, I want to say for UCLA, after the grants are applied, is about $13,000 or $14,000 per academic year for 3 quarters. So each year you're paying about $13,000, $14,000, and that's not counting room and board. Out-of-state students, it jumps up quite a bit. I don't have the price off the top of my head, but if you multiply that by 4, that's a crap ton of money, and that's a lot of debt to incur. Going to community college, you're cutting that in half. And you're also giving yourself additional time to save up or plan out a financial plan that doesn't involve taking out student loans, which have very high interest. Just to reiterate, money is a huge con for 4 universities. I mean, even if you're just going there for, in general, it's a big problem. But if you have the option to go to community college and not incur as much debt, why not? And this is another con that can be coupled in with that. A lot of people, they'll attend a university not knowing what they're getting themselves. They'll attend a university and not know what they're getting themselves into, and then they may attend a private school and then realize, oh, this is so expensive, or I don't really like how it is. I want to go to a public school, vice versa, different scenarios, and they end up not liking their school of choice off the bat, and then they'll transfer themselves into another public university. But what they do is they kind of waste money in terms of tuition, but they also waste their time, because not everything's transferable in terms of units and credits. Going to community college, it's just a set canvas of, we're taking these classes and that's it. Versus a university, if you're going there straight out of high school, you have 17, 18-year-olds, very young, that aren't completely aware of what they're getting themselves into, and before they know it, they've made a lifestyle change that they're not a fan of. And yes, they can try to mend it and change accordingly to make themselves happy, but that's not without its repercussions in terms of financial and personal setbacks to a degree. I put student debt as another con, which also just falls into money, but you don't want to fall into too much debt. And going to a 4-year university, you're adding 2 years of debt that you wouldn't have if you just go to a community college. It's pretty plain and simple at that point, but that's another con to take into account. Another big con, being homesick. If you're a commuter student, then this, I guess, wouldn't really apply to you, but majority of students in America that go to a 4-year university end up living there or living around there, moving away. This becomes a new sense of independence for a lot of people that they look forward to. But a lot of the time, a lot of the time, people get homesick. And it's a driving force enough for them to where they actually plan on wanting to come back home, go to the community college near their house, or transfer to a university that's close to the home. This is it can be a setback, but it can also just be a psychological thing that bugs you when you're trying to focus on school, but you're worried about your family, or you feel like you want to be with your family. It would help you. And that's another thing. Going to community college will give you that additional time to assess whether or not you want to move halfway across the country, stay close to home, or just mature enough to feel comfortable enough with moving away and knowing you will get homesick at times, but you're always going to be able to see your family when you need it most. But it's another con that comes with a 4-year university. It can still be a con even if you go to community college and then you end up transferring, but it gives you more time to develop that maturity. Another con, 4 universities are very intimidating. 4 universities are very intimidating right off the bat. Other than being a lifestyle change, you've got all these different things being thrown at you. And other than just your own curriculum, you've got clubs, organizations, the Greek life, whatever it may be. It's all coming at you at once, and you may not be used to taking on all of these tasks. If you're the type of student that you were in high school, you may be able to. It can be intimidating at times, so much so that it takes over your life, whereas community college is more of a, take the classes and that's pretty much it. You're not here for anything else, so it can be more introductory to a lot of people, mainly if you're introverted. This is a very minor con, and I wouldn't even call it a con, more of just a little bit of a warning. And another con to a 4-year university, well, it's not really to the 4 universities, but it's more of just a little bit of a warning, is that you don't have to go to a 4-year university if you didn't get your top pick. Like, let's say you applied to Chico State, Sac State, and Northridge. Those were your CSU choices. And then you also applied to USC, UCLA, and UC Santa Barbara, and you only got into Chico and Sac State. Well, if you feel like you really could have gotten into Sac State, that was more of your preference because that was a location you'd rather be in, or Santa Barbara because that's always been your dream school since you were a little kid, you don't need to be locked into going to a 4-year university right out the gate. Again, this isn't a con against 4-year university. It's more of like a stigma that people have, and I just want to say that you don't have to fall into that. Now, the cons for 4 universities, I don't think the list was as long as a 2-year university, but the con for a 4 university, the biggest one is money. I think that kind of overshadows any other con that a 2 university has, because at the end of the day, money is a huge factor in people's lives. It can deter people away from a lot of different things in their life. Let's talk about the pros for a 4 university going there straight at the gate out of high school for the first 2 years. The first pro that I put down here is that you can have a great experience. Going out of high school straight to a 4 university can actually be very good for your mental state. You're going to be introduced to a lot of new people, new experiences, try new things. Some people thrive on that. You know, staying in a situation for too long that's too similar, or you're in your hometown you've been in your whole life, may not be good for you. You might thrive under change. And I just want to, you know, everyone's different. You have to look at what you're better at. I believe that if you're an extrovert, then a 4 university, that change straight out the gate out of high school probably won't affect you too much. If you're someone like me who's an introvert, it probably was going to be a big wake-up call to yourself. So you know, that's a big pro in and of itself. On top of that, the pros are you find new people, you make new friends, you have these new experiences in your life that you'll be able to look back with a lot of fondness. These are big pros that a 4 university does have. I mean, there's a social atmosphere to it that people fall in love with. And mentally, going to a 4 university kind of pushes you forward to feeling like you're taking the next step in your life. It can push you to mature. It can push you to try new things that will advance your life forward, whether it's career-wise or social-wise. It can be good for your mental health to feel like you're growing up. But that's about it. Honestly, that's about it in terms of the pros for going there over a community college straight out the gate. This is my conclusion to everything that I've said, guys. Obviously, I have a bias towards community college, and due to the short list of pros I have for a 4 university, you can probably tell where I'm leaning towards. But this is how I would choose to say things. If you got into your top university, your top choice, the college that you've always wanted to go to, or just the college that you really want to go to. If you got into there, you got admitted, and you're not out of high school, go for it. I know the cost you will incur is going to be higher, but why risk going to community college and reapplying again when you already got into that institution? Go for it. You'll probably thrive on that. But for a majority of people who know they can do better, probably didn't get the highest GPA in high school, but know that they're capable of doing more. For the people that want to go to community college to save money, like I did, that was the main factor, to save money and then transfer to have a higher rate of getting into a top university with half the amount of debt, go to community college. For most people, community college is the way to go. And I think the tide is changing for community college for the next generation of people. As time goes on, community college is looked at less as an institution for people who don't know what to do with their lives, and more for people that actually have a more financial literacy, have a better financial literacy plan in place. Community college versus a 4 university is definitely something that isn't an easy decision to make. I hope that this video though can give you a little bit of insight onto each side of the matter. This is nothing against 4 universities and going to them straight at it, like nothing at all. But there's a lot of pros of community college that should not be overlooked, and so much so that I think that they're big factors. But that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, found something informative. Hopefully it can help some people make a decision. Personally, for me, I knew early on in high school, I want to say by sophomore year, that I was going to go to community college because I wanted to save money. And so I was able to take easier classes in high school and then boost my GPA. And when I attended community college, it was really, really easy. But that is it for today. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have an idea of what kind of video I should make for this, college series that I'm doing this summer, let me know. I was planning on doing some videos pertaining to UCLA once I did move over there, but due to COVID-19, that will not be happening anytime soon. So, if you guys can think of anything, or if I think of anything, just let me know. And without further ado, thank you for watching.